Apparently, one of the best times in the day to take photos is extremely early in the morning. I'm gonna go do that. But first, I need some coffee. So it's just after sunrise and I've come to the park to take some pictures during golden hour. The only issue is that right over there is a giant mountain range that blocks the sun for about the first 20 minutes or so of sunrise. How that affects the golden part of golden hour, I'm not really sure, but I'm assuming it just delays the start a bit and in turn shortens up that hour. If you've got more info or just know more about golden hour in general, let me know. So, I wanted to talk about my last video. It was the first video that was published to this channel, and honestly the hardest part about making that video was hitting the publish button. I'm not really used to or comfortable being in front of the camera, and I think that came off in the first video. I know that I'll get more comfortable as time goes on, and can even tell right now, talking to the camera again, that it already has. There's a point in the last video where I'm listing off some of the channels that inspired me, and I kind of look off and squint awkwardly. What you don't see is that there's somebody down the alleyway watching me, and up until that point, I probably would have just stopped and gone somewhere else. Now, on my face, you can see that I'm uncomfortable, but in my head, I'm thinking if I truly want to do this, I'm gonna have to get comfortable speaking to myself into a camera in public places. So while this channel is meant to show the progression of my photography, I think it's also going to inadvertently show progression in myself and confronting some of my personal insecurities. But with that being said, it looks like there's some light starting to leak in, so let's go take some photos. So before I jump into anything, I just want to be clear that this is not a tutorial. I just began to learn myself, and overwhelmingly, the advice that I got after the last video was to get out of auto mode as quickly as possible. But instead of jumping right into full manual, I decided to put my camera into aperture priority, giving me control only over the aperture settings so that I could really dig in and see how that affected things first. Now, to my knowledge, the aperture is the little bit inside the lens that opens and closes to let in more or less light. Now, since my camera is in aperture priority, it's going to set the shutter speed and the ISO automatically, which means my exposure really isn't going to change all that much. But apparently the aperture also affects the depth of field, or how much is in focus relative to how close or far away something is from the lens. Now, I found this grassy lake bush thing that I thought would be fun to experiment in. So the aperture is measured in numbers called f-stops. The smaller the number, the larger the opening, the more light that comes in and shallower your depth of field, or your subject is in focus and anything in the background or foreground is out of focus or blurry. Now, why the focus is affected by the size of that opening, I'm not entirely sure. If you know, let me know, and I'm also gonna do some more research to try and find out. Now, inversely, the larger that f-stop number, the smaller the opening, which means it's letting in less light and giving you a deeper depth of field, or your subject is in focus, and so is anything in the background or foreground. Now, behind me, there's this really cool tree being hit by the light, and what I'm gonna try and do is shoot up into the tree and get a bunch of these leaves in focus while getting the top tree branches and everything up there a bit more blurry and out of focus. So. So the sun is really starting to cook and I've got to get out of here. But if you like the video, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you want to see more of what it's like to learn photography or a new hobby in general. And if you want to see more photos from today's shoot or other shoots or just get in touch, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Joshua_Aune, and I will see you on my next step.